East Coast of the United States? I have no idea.
Hoping I'm not on mute, and I'm not. Yes, this is Dave. Good evening, everybody, or if you're watching this on a replay during prime time, well, then happy days. I'm Dave, and Meki can't be with us today. His daughter is performing at the Opera House. How good is that? The Sydney Opera House. And he said he might not make the show. I'm just going to give him the whole show. Doesn't matter. And this is Shiny Side Out. If you're not familiar with my voice or Meki's voice, we are both Shiny Side Out and Plato's Cave. Plato's Cave runs 7 a.m. Tuesday and Thursday morning Eastern Standard Time in the US. And you should catch both of our shows. If you don't know what it is, jump into Station Archive. It's free to access those. Or you can find us on Rumble, YouTube, Clips Go To, Insta, TikTok, and something else. YouTube as well. Something else it goes to. I forget now. It doesn't matter. Because we're in control of the message. That's what we are. We're broadcasting. I'm broadcasting directly out of Australia. Not the Denver bunker. Because Australia is real. We're not all crisis actors. And I'm broadcasting for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio, because that's what you have to type in the browser. And you'll find that that is the home, not lying, that's the home of, let me have a look, Fresh Ideas. Yes. Not Sleeping Hosts, but Fresh Ideas. And you'll find those in the chat room, which I'm joining right now. And that's another reminder. You can message us while we're on air. We can reply to you. It's more difficult, though, I'm going to be honest with you, when I do it on my own, because then the audience gets a huge gap while I'm talking. While I'm typing. And I think that's really funny, that I can't do both things at once. It's markedly obvious that I'm typing, because I might even say the words out loud that I'm typing. But I do that so the audience can hear it. But needless to say, this is show number 702. 2 and 700. I'm going to ask that don't forget that you don't need to simply, let's say, watch this or listen to this on YouTube. If you're catching this on YouTube or Rumble area, anywhere else, or this is your first time here, did you know you can access this directly from revolution.radio? They've got a listen live, and we are live. This is not pre-recorded, so if there was a knock at the door, you'd hear the knock at the door. That's what happens. Oh boy. Now, tune in to us online on your smart device directly via an app, because you can get those these days. Oh, when I was young, we didn't have apps. Or listen at home on a Grace tabletop digital radio. I was actually going to do that in another voice. I was going to do it like this. Or listen at home on a Grace tabletop digital radio. Because I can do a whole bunch of voices. Yes. And I just entertain myself for the most part, because no one cares. I was called Monty at my new work because I did Monty Burns. I thought, oh, come on, don't give me Monty, give me Burnsy or something like that. But no. So I think I'm now going to be called Monty. Did you know you can access, you already know that you can access the station's archives for free. Who needs to tell you? Easy. I'm broadcasting out of Dark and Jung country, and that is all I'm going to say on that matter. So, looking forward to the new... let me see if I can pull the news story up. Oh, boy. Let me see if I can talk while I'm typing something else. Yes, I can. And look at this when it finally comes up. The 10th flight test for middle screen, there we go, is in, I suppose that's 17 hours, isn't it? 17 hours, 21 minutes and 59 seconds. That's fantastic. I'm looking forward to ship 10. Let's hope it doesn't have a Rudd. Not like Kevin Rudd. Kevin Rudd was the Prime Minister in Australia. But the Rudd from was it Rapidly Unscheduled Disassembly? Rapid Unscheduled Disassembly. So that's a Rudd. It's funny that it should be called a Rudd because Kevin Rudd was a Prime Minister. And, we all got, it was the Kevin 07, I think it was. So in 2007, we all got flat screen TVs. We all got a bonus from the government, which didn't pay off, to be honest. It paid off for everyone else, and it was basically just a cash injection into a brand similar to Walmart in America. It's Harvey Norman here, which is let's call it a small box retailer. They fridges and televisions and toasters and it's appliances, home appliances, and they also sell furniture. But for the most part, people were just buying the latest unobtainable large screens, and I think it was plasma and LED back then. And I had a combo. I already owned it. I had a combo LED LCD that had an ability to light up parts of the screen with more brightness than anything else because it supercharged the section behind it, so that if white was the choice or whatever color it was, it would be able to accelerate that by changing the LCD blocking of that extra bright light. And by opening that up, it was able to, like a secondary filter on the backlight. Just amazing. Simply amazing. There was one scene from, I think, the Maxwell Smart movie where he walks down a street and walks in front of a street light in a dark street. The street light's further away. He's close to camera. And you actually had to squint because the overall brightness was greater than anything you'd seen previous because it was a street light. And in real life, if someone walks in front of a street light, you kind of have to squint to see exactly the same effect. And of course, all that went by the wayside when they had, some crazy contrast values on later TVs. But that was a Samsung Series 9, one of my favorites. You could call me a Samsung fanboy if you really want to. I have Samsung phone from the 1 all the way up to the S22 Plus. Happy days for me. I'm not an iPhone person. If you are, no trouble. You can be. It's the same as, I suppose for me, it's the same, GM and Ford rivalry. I'm not a hater of any other car. I'm a fan of mine and my brand, which is the General Motors Holden. However, I'll get on something in a minute. So yes, I'm a fan of cars, but I'm not a hater of the opposition because they've got lovers of their cars, and that's just the way it is. Ford in Australia made the best 6-cylinder. It was a straight 6 called the Barra, and the LS is the best V8. And all of you Coyote engines out there, all you Mustang fans, it's all about the firing order, to be honest with you, and it just is awesome. So it's traditional, but you gotta love it where it is, and that's what I love. So moving on, I wanted to mention that one. That was my first piece of news. I'll put the banner up so you can see it. This is, like I said, 702. It's shiny side out, and it's where we're meant to be. I had to mention something I saw. What was it yesterday? I saw yesterday. There is. Oh, I'm gonna call this out right away. I'll see if I can find something that can have you can use as a backdrop. Hang on, it just takes a second, and I'm gonna fix all this in post. Oh, there's 3 days, 7 hours ago. No, that's not it. Okay, so it's got to be this one. I'll leave it at this one, so you guys get to at least see a news story that I'm talking about, because I don't want to be ever blamed for the thing. Oh, there's a giveaway. All the ads you can see are all sim racing parts, because I drive a sim. I'm a sim racer. But the story here from the Daily Mail, you can see it. It says Emmanuel Macron says he is suing US influencer to defend his honor over ludicrous claims wife Brigitte was born a man as he aims free speech dig at Trump. Look, people can say what they want. I do watch Candace. I've got to watch as much media as I can to form a basis of what we did in the olden days, to be honest with you. We formed our own opinions. So I watched a bunch so I can determine what the real truth is to it. So Candace Owens actually is quoting from a French author's book and querying it and trying to find truth in it. That's what's the truth in this entire side from her side. And she has the internet sleuths going out there finding information for her, and happy days that she's able to do that. Right? Happy days. Not a complaint from me. I think the Macrons are putting too much emphasis on it. They actually asked Trump to ask her to stop, which is funny. So she kind of took a hiatus for a couple of months to work out, did she have to? Is it really free speech? What's Trump doing trying to ask her to not say something? So after determining what all that meant legally, she came back with, no, I'm going to keep going. Her argument is, for running the story, the series about Brigitte, was that she put the questions to them directly, saying, if you answer these questions, I'm not going to run this story. And they refused, flatly refused to answer the questions as they were asked, provided different information, but nothing of any proof. And so her story ran, and ran it did, and it upset the Macrons, saying, who is this person anyway? And then discovered that she's quite quite well known and across the planet. So the way to make this story disappear was just not reply, say nothing, let Candace do what she does. And if it all turned up to be nothing, then if it's not true, then let it go. But now, since they filed in the US, then you can have the Macrons cross-examined. That's an interesting concept right there, isn't it? I think if you'd liked anything to happen, you could have a court-ordered DNA test. That would put it to bed straight away. Wouldn't it? Think about that for a minute. So, if Brigitte was born a man, then a DNA test is going to show it up. If Brigitte is entirely a woman, from top to bottom, born one, still is one, and Candace is just wrong. Candace has always got the ability to say, I'm quoting from this book that's from France by a French author. So why didn't you pursue them? Because what? It's because the book wasn't well known. Now it's well known, all right. Good luck. So this is the problem, I think, that famous people wanting a story to go away can either own it, so own the story by proving the person publicly wrong, or fight it in court. And if you win, fantastic. If you lose in court, what have you just done? What did you do to yourself? I think the entire way that this is being handled by the Macrons is wrong. They should have simply said, either you're right, we're going to make a big deal of this. You control the narrative, right? So if you were to control the narrative and in the Macrons, and she was a man, then you just come out and you hose it all down, saying, sorry, you're right. She's not now. She's been my wife since I was, I had an affair with her when I was 14. Whatever the truth is. I don't really care what the truth is. I shouldn't be, I'm not being awful to them, I promise. But whatever the truth is there, it is what it is. So you either control it, you hide from it, or just let it go, blow over, because if people weren't making a noise or a fuss about it, it would have gone already. If they didn't ask through Trump to silence her directly, then what are you going to do? Doesn't it make everything worse by now putting the spotlight on Candace Owens? Because I think that's all it's done. She's a bulldog. She won't let go. She'll hunt something down until the natural conclusion of whatever it is. And I don't hope she's right or wrong. I hope this whole thing comes to a natural and honest conclusion. And if they're trying to hide from something, they're going about it the wrong way. And all they had to do was prove it. They could just third party, independent, at Candace's call, some science lab somewhere within the US, and say, look, we'll do the DNA test, and you're wrong, and there you go. But nothing like that. So they're pulling up all sorts of crazy thing. People being here and there around the world, ships and part of Montauk or not. There's all these really weird connections all over the world, in Germany and the US. So I don't know. I don't even know what to make of it, to be honest. I think it's entertainment, and I'm watching it to see where it's leading. It's no different than looking out the front of the bus as the bus driver is driving the bus, or in a driverless train, standing up where the engine driver would be, just looking at the tracks. You know where it's going to go. You've bought a ticket. The tracks don't go anywhere else, and yet you're still willing to watch it. And that's kind of the way that I see all crazy claims. I don't care who you are. If I can watch it and I can determine what the truth is as quickly as possible, or if it's a long drawn out process, I'm there for the ride. They're no different, and I'm going to argue this. It's no different than watching a soap opera. That's all it is. Whether people want to be part of it or not, it's irrelevant. They might be rewritten into the story as their long lost dead uncle's the cousin, but it's come back to life for some reason. They didn't really die in that car accident when the car went off into the lake, or they were in a coma and they were declared deceased, but when all the machinery was taken away outside of the story, they came back to life. Or it's the same actor in a different character. Maybe they're playing the brother or the sister this time. Who knows? Whatever it is, it's kept people watching those shows for such a long time. You know what it means. Anyway, I think that's enough of that. So that's take from it what you will. Let's just see what happens. I don't think I can say another word on it, to be honest with you, without vomiting just a little in the back of my throat. You know, what are you going to do? I think that just moving from that to just a general topic, what I find a difficult thing these days is, number one, astroturfing. That's where the proof out there has been replaced or watered down by misinformation that's intentionally put out there. That's number one. Number two is, well, in the olden days, you had to go to a library and people couldn't change the truth in the book. The book was there, it's published at a published date, and there you go. It was there forever. And the truth, right or wrong, whatever the truth the author believed was the truth, was there, or however the narrative was driven to be put into the book. However the editor decided what the truth was, or not just the writer, the editor. Well, you can't really say that. How about we say this? Yeah, sure. We'll print, 500,000 copies of it, right? If you change this. The winners change the history. The winners write the history books. So truth can be manufactured. The truth isn't always the truth, it's just the narrative. What really is the truth when you're looking for an answer? Because you'll find many answers, and then how do you determine which one was the correct one? I think that's the big lesson that a lot of us have to answer, because it's something that's very difficult these days. The internet is the craziest thing we've ever made. In the early days, when it was, let's call it, the Wild West, when it was the Wild West of the internet and big tech hadn't really gotten into it yet, there was a lot more truth and a lot more lies. But the generations that were looking at it were from Gen X. So we were able to, for the most part, try to determine what was right from wrong, but also be amazed at when you read something that was completely untrue, fascinated with how did that untruth begin? Is it really true? Because you didn't know. You didn't know, and it took a lot of time for that to either become the truth because of more information or confirmation, or be proved to be totally incorrect. And that was just one of those things that occurred naturally. I say naturally, or unnaturally, because Mockingbird, was it Project Mockingbird? Let me just remind myself what this was, because I think this was the CIA's Project Mockingbird. Yes, and it says here, this is just simply a CIA. Published transcripts, secretly recorded conversations, Oval Office, blah blah blah. I thought that Mockingbird was according to Declassified. No, I really thought this was a project, and maybe this is incorrect. It was meant to be not this at all, not wiretapping. There's looking for it. Oh no, that's not it. This is only half the story. The other half of Project Mockingbird was to intentionally put stories out that weren't true, to change the narrative, to also put in place people within the media to ensure the messaging wasn't leaving. Someone in the chat room, Lavender Streams, if you're there, Dave Ski, Pat Rabbit, whomever, can you let me know what you find? I'm sure that's what it was. I thought Mockingbird was all about, because what's the mockingbird do? It makes a sound like it's another bird, and that's why the Project Mockingbird was meant to have been that the CIA was publishing information that wasn't true to get, throw people off the scent of something. But oh well, I'll be quiet. So one of the things I wanted to talk about on top of that was Ghislaine Maxwell has done a huge. They've published the audio. If you've got any time up your sleeves, there was audio published
with Virgin Australia Business,
which was her interview with the CIA, not director, but one of the first down from there, in 2 days of interviews back in July. She also claims all of those people, or at least aware of, all the people knew that it was happening. What big names would be sacrificed as she gasped for more leniency. Like, I'll tell you if you let me off. Of course, that makes sense. They're talking about teenagers here. Conveniently exculpatory statements. She offered about Trump and longtime friend of Epstein. There's so much anyway, you can, there's I think the transcripts are there or something, you can listen to it. So it's not, I'm not saying that Mr. Epstein did not do these things. I don't feel comfortable saying that today, given what I know now to be true, she says. So I am not here to defend him, but what I can say is that I did not participate in that activity. Wow. I never saw any man doing something inappropriate with a woman of any age. I never saw inappropriate habits. Sure. That's okay. Whatevers. Don't really care. Well, everybody we spoke to, Ghislaine, and she didn't offer anything useful. They're saying, "Oh, it's a big wet sock." As far as I'm concerned, President Trump was always very cordial and very kind to me. Yeah, so that's just been watered down to nothing. Not important. Remember that there was no client list. There was nothing. There's nothing. Who knows? Who knows what the truth is anymore? And I ask that question because who's now got the reins of the truth? Who's holding that tight to their chest and not letting it go? Who's changed the narrative somewhat? Because remember, Epstein, phase 1, let's release all that information. It's all going to be true. We're working with it. I've got the files on my desk. We're going to be going through it. And then suddenly, nothing to see here. No, there's nothing. What? There was nothing in it. It was empty. Nothing there. It's all on him. No one did anything else. Now, the only reason you would suddenly make that switch between I'm releasing all the information, it's going to be unvetted, just whatever it is, here it is, we're just going to vomit it out to you, you can do what you want with it, to, oh, there's nothing there at all. No. That full shift in position on it says more about what's in it and possibly who would be in it. And I'm not going to stop that thought unless, of course, someone was to be able to provide the truth and then tell me I'm not allowed to talk about it. Because then I wouldn't talk about it at all. There'd be no more words out of my mouth because I would have... I'd have to. I wouldn't be able to confess it. And so this is the problem. I think anyone who gets tied to the responsibility of not saying anything anymore and is told not to say anything, that's it. That's the end of that. So until that moment happens, they're walking around with an A-frame on their body with the words, Epstein's terrible, all the elite were part of it, and then as soon as they're told not to say anything, suddenly it was only Epstein, did it by himself, nothing to see here, move along. Isn't that extraordinary? And so on the opposite side of that story, I have to ask, do we all manufacture it and want it all to be true about the elites, or we call them the parasites? So were all of the parasites not guilty? Or so were none of them guilty? Is that really what we believe? The Simpsons even did an episode on a weird island where they were drugged and they woke up later. And when you look at the way that the island is, it's kind of about the same size as Epstein's Island, but who knows? Who knows what they were trying to tell us? I don't know. I don't know. Oh. So in Australia we had demonstrations, protest for Gaza, and they said it was bigger than they'd predicted it was going to be. And I'm going to put this on the middle screen. I'm not a supporter of either side on this at all. I don't support either side. I think the whole thing's abhorrent. Should never have happened. It's such an awful thing to kill civilians, to kill from war people, as in the military, to kill other military. Sure, whatever. Knock yourselves out. Don't care. They signed up for conflict. The government signed you up to battle another country. But at some point, and I said this the other day, since it was October 7th, I think by the end of October, on the same year, it should have been the end of it. And that's it. If it was 6,000 that were unalived on October 7th, then just go in there and take out as many of the militants as possible, and then step back out and go, you know what, done. I'm done. But if you're doing 10 times that amount, like 60,000 or whatever, because we'll never know the truth, then what are we doing? And why are we supporting a country that does that? It's the same thing as supporting Russia's land grab of the Ukraine. It's the same to me. I know it is a land grab because they're now wanting to take it. They want to occupy it. Is that an occupation to liberate it of Hamas and give it back to the Palestinians? Well, that hasn't been said. So this is really difficult. It's a very difficult position that I think it puts the world's media in and all the governments in, because they were originally on side with Israel, and then they went a bit rogue, and then they're all giving each other side eye. Like, what are we doing? Why are we look, what are they doing? Can't someone talk to them to stop it? And then you've just, it's the same as Putin with this special military operation. What does that even mean, dude? You just want to take parts of the Ukraine for yourself, don't you? What? Why are you even doing that? Can't you give it back? Are you going to give it back when you've... Remember, the original story that he gave in this special military operation was to get rid of the Nazis. That was it. And then there weren't any more, and he's still pushing. A lot of failed military operations, special or not, failed. That the taking of Kiev with 1950s military equipment. Good luck with that. It's never going to work. I really had expected more. I think the world had expected more military prowess from Russia than we've seen. It kind of disappoints me. This person who's been hiding behind nuclear threat for such a long time spent really nothing on any military, and now we've seen this shift to drones that has just changed the battlefield forever. Can't go back. These aren't the drones that these are the drones you're looking for. These aren't the drones that are the $70,000 drone with 8 blades and it can handle redundancy and lift nearly a whole person in the air that the military have always wanted, and that was sold this idea of, well, they've got to kind of be battle hardened and the blades have to be carbon fiber and all this. No, just go to the store and get one for $20. Yeah, retrofit some servos on there to hold some stuff, and voila. The one that I thought was terrifying was the one that was dropping molten metal. So it had, I think it was iron oxide and aluminium oxide that was set ablaze. And that's thermite. And that's what you use to create metal between rail tracks. When you, instead of welding them with an arc welder or what have you, in situ, when they're there and you've put laid a piece of new track, and you have to join them together, right? So they actually put some formwork there, put some thermite in a flask above it, and when they set it on fire, it melts into place and becomes the new steel. It's unreal. It's really, really good what they did. So that invention is tremendously exciting for people who work on railroads. Or, there might be some stuff around the Twin Towers or 9/11, who knows? I don't know, because I don't know. There was a lot of talk about it, but it could have just simply been all of the pulverized materials, because there wasn't, a fax machine or a phone or a printer or a computer or racks of computers anymore, or chairs, office furniture. No, it was all pulverized into pretty much a dust. Nothing bigger than, say, a credit card was ever found of anything, to be honest. So it's just an extraordinary thing for all that to happen the way it did. But so where was I? Thermite. Oh, never mind. That's my poor brain, for that matter, because I haven't got anything written down. When Meccy and I roll in our normal show, we'll say a topic, I'll be searching for something while he's talking, and he's searching for something while I'm talking, and then we, back and forth a little, and then voila. Oh, I had to mention this because here we go again. Feels like Groundhog Day. Highly infectious new COVID strain spread.
Just want to get your quick thoughts on some charges.
That's way too loud. All right. So spreads to US as vaccine advice changes. So a new COVID strain that led to a massive spike in hospitalizations in China has spread to the US as the country updated its vaccine advice. And now, what is the vaccine advice? This is talking about NB181, and the story was, wow, from May. Goodness me, what happened to that story? That disappeared. I think no one decided they were going to take up the thing that I can't read where the vaccine information changed. Oh, that's right. The US will no longer recommend COVID-19 vaccines for children and healthy pregnant women. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's a nothing story. That's another wet sock. And this is meant to be the latest information. Isn't it crazy? You go to news.com.au and it's just rubbish. It's all rubbish. Oz slams Israel move. That's makes no difference. Netanyahu doubles down on Albo sledge because our Albo's the nickname for our prime minister, and his name is Anthony Albanese, and we short it just to Albo. And there's a diplomatic rift. So our prime minister shares kind of the way I've been describing it as I think they're kind of a little bit too rogue for us now, so we're just gonna reverse back into the bushes like Homer does. Just back into the bushes, nothing to see here, let's not worry about it. There was something else here. There was a China $1 billion deal story, which the story will autoplay. I don't want it to autoplay. Got to try and stop it before it starts. There we go. Oh, I even hit pause. Don't launch the ad. There we go. So Australia is investigating whether one of our closest neighbours has breached a security treaty by locking arms in a lucrative deal with Beijing. That means we've done a security deal with a country as long as that country doesn't make any deals with China, clearly. But Nauru, where we have an asylum seeker farm, they seem to grow lots of asylum seekers there. I don't know. So Nauru last week announced that it signed a $650 million Australian economic development agreement with the China Rural Revitalisation and Development Corporation. That's just another word for CCP. And that's not good. We made an agreement with them and they've abandoned that agreement. That's terrible. So I don't know what that's going to mean for us. If China can build ever and ever closer to us outside of their own territory, then it just keeps looking worse for us. They could put a military base there, disguised as a factory, with missiles that could hit Australia. They could they could have a deep water base. They could have a submarine base there, and that would be terrible for us. By wiping out the lead time we have when we're following their ships by satellite, that would be terrible. So who is there that you know of that thinks that's an okay thing? I know the reason why you would do it if you were Russia or America to each other, but I just didn't think that I didn't think we were at this point. I thought we'd gone past all this. But if you wanted, okay, here's a better question. If you wanted any country in the world to be the world leading country, which country would you want it to be? That's the best question to ask. I think that, buying stuff off Temu, super cheap. Not Super Cheap Auto. I like Super Cheap Auto. I like Repco and Super Cheap Auto because they're sponsors of the Bathurst 1000, which you can see on the screen. No, my point here is, who do you want to be the one who controls the planet? And if the influence was so strong, are you sure you want it to be the opposite team? So I'm not trying to generate fear. That isn't my idea. It's only the question about who would you rather it be. And I hope that makes sense to you, because I think the important part of that is out of the two countries, say let's call it the China and US, there's been no country in the last 1,000 years that has been the top of the reign of all the countries in the world, the top military leader, an economic leader that has led the civilization forward. There hasn't been one that stayed there. Every decade or every century, I suppose, it's an opportunity for it to change. Do we want it to change? And how is it changing? And what is the effect of how it's being changed? What's made it change? If you consider for 1 minute which team I'm in, it's not China's. And it's kind of not America, but I prefer America over China for as a world leader that was then in control of us at some point in the future. I would kind of prefer it was our own team, right? And I say this because of safety concerns, adherence to safety, policy, the gentleman's rules of interactions with others. And if we all treat each other with the same politeness, then as sovereign entities, then we're more likely to get along. This is the big problem. And it's the problem that I see is the one that is the thing that's definitely dividing my thought between who it should be. You can use your own determination to see where you would take this. But for me, the US maybe is a little too, I don't want anyone to be the world police. That should be dedicated to, say, the UN. Put some false teeth in there, because they're toothless at the moment. Put some false teeth in there and make them the world police. Make them funded by all the nations of the world. And whoever pulls out their funding is the one that gets not cut from it, but not helped. So if anything should happen to them, that's their own bag. But if you want protection, then the protectionism should come from the UN. And in my design of the planet, yes, and that there shouldn't be anything that any country can do. I know it's as bizarre as it sounds. I'm actually more in favor of one world government, but the right kind of governance than anything else, and a one world currency, because then it basically deletes all of the parasites, trading currency, and exploiting workers for the cheapest, holding a country back so it remains the cheapest, doing things to keep it the cheapest so people can just reap the profits like there's no tomorrow. Anything for profit. I don't care if it destroys lives. I don't care if people die, says the company as a psychotic, deranged person. Only this is a company's cross-section profile of their the psychology of a business, and it's to make profit at any cost. Doesn't matter what it is. Hire and fire people, who cares? Whatever, as long as we make profit. What else can you do? I don't know. More hiring and more firing? I don't know. Make more profit? That's what we can do. We can make more profit, and it doesn't matter. Nothing matters. So the larger the company, more that is a thing. Family-run companies, well, they don't tend to hire and fire people because they're family-run. They believe in the people. They're upper level wages for their C-levels aren't 100 times that as the front worker. Not like you see in the larger the corporation, the more levels there are within the corporation, the more zeros, the more factors above the frontline worker that the C-levels have as earnings. You could flatten those organizations to one layer and just have a CEO above one layer. That's it. Make everyone the same. And the CEO should be unbribable. That's the only reason why their wages should be high, but I don't believe in all of those bonuses, and I don't believe in Also, publicly floating a company. But, you know, people do it. That's the way it is, right? I'm not arguing against the system, only what I like and what I don't like. And that's okay. I'm allowed to do that. And therefore, I put my warnings up, and we don't provide any financial, medical, social, or political advice. And we do not incite violence or racial action to any cause or of any kind. That's what we don't do. But I can talk about what I think might be a good idea and what might not be a good idea. And you can disagree. You're allowed to. And I actually would like you to comment what you think, if you ever see this video, what you think would be the best outcome. Because there's parts of the WEF's Great Reset that are really kind of nice. And then the rest of it's junk. They can throw that away. But when you think about what the motive is for driving the planet down the highway of not owning anything, kind of living like you're military on a military base that you don't own, in a house you don't own, getting wages, minimal wages, just to be able to survive. You shouldn't have to pay any taxes because the wages would then just be digital and they could just type it into your account and you just get to spend it. But you never save it. You could never save the money because it would have an expiration. Those things are a mix of good and bad. Not ever being able to attain any wealth anymore, ever, means that the people who have designed it are excluded from these rules. And that's the next part of how awful all of this is how they have basically created themselves a bunker, separated themselves. They could actually make it so all the resources were on one continent, for instance, and all the people were on one continent, for instance. And then other countries and governments didn't exist, and they only exist. The people only exist to serve the oligarchy. This very few, just like it is now. And I love you, BlackRock, and I love the AI, and I love all the leaders. I really do. Fantastic that you're doing what you're doing, and I get you. But what are we really wanting out of this? Because the world that I grew up into doesn't exist now. You can get somewhere if you really try. You can buy the things you want because you'll have earned them from working hard. One wage families, that's all. A single income family is what we had. I think we should always be supporting multiple generations in the same house. Don't try and move somewhere else and require now 2 houses for the same family. It would limit the family sizes, but at least it would keep everyone together. I think the old and the infirm would exist in a much better way than being separated from their children. I think all of that is really terrible. But not being able to ever gain anything anymore, you're not going to gain property. All those property holders now, I don't know how that's going to work. But this is really tough. This part of our civilization as a transition to their not needing to have this many people on the planet, as a wind down or a managed decline of our entire civilization. It's not going to get the best of it. It kind of puts it into a holding pattern, if not a shrunken head. It's whatever the remnants were of a burgeoning civilization and making everything fantastic into, we're just going to keep doing this for the next 1,000 years. Who cares, right? What? You need multiple versions of everybody in multiple companies. You can't just run everything by profit. You've got to invest in new ideas. Otherwise, we don't go anywhere forward. And what happens to art? Art is the sign of a successful civilization. And this is, we're coming to the end of the first hour It's been the Stingy and Zappy show, but that doesn't matter. After this, I'll be talking about, believe it or not, the hypothesis, and this is part 3 in the series. And if you're watching this, do like, share, subscribe and comment, and there's a new video for the next hour. So look out for that. I'll be back in a minute.